JBR Podcast.
Wake up and check it out.
Where the music and life connects. Let's go.
Today I'm sitting down with an absolute legend in the Canadian blues scene, Sherman Doucette. With a career spanning decades, Sherman's blown audiences away with his incredible harp skills, soulful vocals, and killer performances. He shared the stage with countless icons and has made a name for himself as one of the most authentic bluesmen out there. It's an honor to have you here, Sherman. So let's dig into your journey and some of the stories that you've collected along the way. And what I want to know is what first drew you to the harmonica and how did you get started in the blues?
Well, when I left home, I had a harmonica in my pocket. I was 15. I left Saskatoon, my family home, and headed for Vancouver. And on the way, started playing the harp in the ditch between rides and kept playing. My buddy played a little bit of guitar, so we started jamming, and it wasn't long. When I got to Vancouver there, I stayed at Kool-Aid and met the Lavins and everything down on Water Street, and we all jammed, the Colonel, and we all jammed on the street back then. And then the clubs, the dives would let us in underage, and so I was playing at the Voodoo when I was 17. That's where I started, and then I played on the street there in front of Lamplighter for a couple of years, 15 to 17, for extra cash, and then started playing inside and getting paid for it. So that was even better, and
Nice.
and just playing all the dives, and then eventually worked my way up. Sat in with all the good guys, so I was mate. For some reason, I just wasn't had no fear of flight, so I'd go meet those cats and ask them if I could play along or sit in. And I got in a lot of gigs there that if I wouldn't have been so probably crazy assertive, I might not have got it. But
That's very cool.
yeah, back in the old days there, we used to play like back the Anchor and stuff like that. I got to play with Sunnyland Slim for a week. Colonel couldn't do that one, so he threw me in, and we had a ball. And Sunnyland tore up my bar tab at the end. Give me $500, man. That was the first time I ever got a real paycheck. And I said, "Wow, yeah, man, this is it. This is the way it's going to be now." No way. It just gets you're just as good as your last gig, and that's life, man.
Yeah, for sure. And that gave you the itch to keep it
Yeah.
going?
Yeah, I just kept going, man. I just kept sitting in and playing when Powders started and all that. That Rohan's, that's how the rumor started with me and Jerry Doucette. Was I'd sit in with him at with the Rocket Norton band. That's who he was playing with when he first came out from Hamilton, and we ended up jamming together. And then people just naturally assumed we were brothers because, hey, where's your big brother? Hey, where's your little brother? And all that stuff. So and then with Danny Tripper there, we ended up playing Expo and all that, doing all that stuff. And that was fun.
Nice. So what was the first gig in band you were in the area?
The first couple of bands, I think the first real band that I was in was the Grand Slam Blues Band. And that was, later Webb was in that and some of the other guys. But we had horns. We had Mark Hasselback on trumpet and Larry Volan on tenor sax. And we were killing it. We were playing a mix of blues and R&B, soul music, right? And Larry would teach me my parts so I could play third parts on the horn, on harp. And that helped me guide my ears so I wasn't stuck. You know what I mean? Try to get a little more out of it. Try to mimic the horns, and that helped my playing a lot. Butterfield did that too, so that's kind of where I got it from, I think.
And were you singing at that time as well? Because
I was singing the whole time. I sang I don't remember when I didn't sing. I've been singing all my life. I sang in
Nice.
choir in school, Notre Dame in North Battleford, and I always sang. I was
Yeah.
the radio in the broken cars when we were teenagers. I knew all the hits. I could sing them all. You know, I had the range then too because that's before my voice changed. Now I'm a low down, dirty dog blues man. But,
So you've played like all over the place. So what's one of the favorite places you've played, or perhaps like the most notable shows that you did? What sticks in your mind?
the most incredible thing where I really got touched by the stone was when I played with John Lee Hooker, and I got to
Wow.
meet him when I was 19. Promoter took me down to Seattle to meet him, to sit in with him, but the age was 21, and so I couldn't go in the bar. So we were staying at the same hotel as his band, Deacon Jones and some of the other guys that were in the band. I can't remember all their names right now, but we sat and jammed all night. And then they told him about me, and then every time he'd come to Vancouver, he'd say, "You tell that Tig to come on down, play some harp." And I'd run down there, man. It didn't matter what I was doing. I'd put
No
on my
kidding.
best suit or go buy a new one at the used store there on the way down, and get down there and sit in with him at the Commodore. And that was heaven for me, man. When I got to do that 5 times with him at the
Wow.
Commodore, so it was a real treat. And lately though, recent, a couple of years ago, 2022, I played with Ruthie Foster at Salmon Arm Roots and Blues Festival. She's
Nice.
amazing. She's the queen of the blues today, I think, because
Yeah.
all my girls are gone. She's even Bonnie is a huge fan of Bonnie Raitt is a huge fan of hers, and she's sweet. I got to play with John Primer there a couple years ago too at Salmon Arm, and then Harry Manx, and I'm opening for
Yeah.
him on Thursday night
Oh,
again.
very cool. Where
So we
where are you
get
guys playing?
at the Mary Irwin Theater in the Rotary Center of the Arts here in Kelowna, and
Nice.
that'll be really sweet. We'll probably do some jamming too, me and him, but I'm opening for him. And I got to tell you, um, just not this last June, but the June before, I went to New Orleans with my nieces took me and my sister, and we went down. We went to Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans uh, to trace our family ancestry, kind of the tree, right? We
Yeah.
didn't find out that much, but it was fun trying. And anyways, uh, Colonel hooked me up with Big Chief Alfred Doucette, one of the big chiefs from the Mardi Gras there in New Orleans. Him and I clicked, man. We just had a ball. I sat in with everybody. The last night I was in New Orleans, I was jamming with the sons of the Neville brothers, Cyril's son and Aaron's son, singing.
That's
Great
awesome.
band. They had a jam down there on Frenchman Street. We were jamming, man. Being the big chief was fronting. I was blowing harp. We did Use Me Up and Ico. And it was just so much fun, man. It was killer. And I can't wait to go back there. I just, if you ever want to fill your boots musically, you gotta go there. Um,
For sure.
it's and there's always something going on. They got a celebration for everything. It's
Yeah.
you know
For sure. Well,
every day.
the southern US is, I find it's a total different landscape when it comes to, blues music and culture compared to what
Yeah,
we're used to up here.
yeah. I didn't see that much blues down there, but man, are they ever funky? Low down, dirty, funky, man. All those drummers are killer. They're just absolutely awesome. And when they throw down, man, you can't resist it. You just got to move. And
Oh yeah,
and
they're
and
they're
the
heavy.
people moving beside you, they know how to move. So even though you're old, kind of given up, you still get down with the. They don't care. They just love you. So that was amazing for me, and that's the thing that's kind of been keep me hanging on. And I ride my bicycle a lot, man. I play harp at the same time to keep my chops up, keep me strong.
Yeah.
So when the
Yeah.
bell rings, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I guess that's interesting. As a guitar player myself, I know, singing, it takes a bit of lung capacity, but I imagine singing and blowing harp all night long. Like you got to have some good lungs to be able to pull that off.
I was fortunate. I was an underwater swimmer when I was a kid. I just couldn't get enough of pretending I was a fish. So I was constantly holding my breath and scaring my friends and stuff like that. And it just turned into I'm a big old windbag. You ever seen an accordion on the bench?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the bellow. I'm this part of it. The harmonicas are laying there on the bench. Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. So who was one of your biggest influences when you started playing harp?
Butter was my main guy, but I love Junior Wells. I love James Cotton. I love them all. I mean, it's pretty hard. Little Walter was the man. I mean, everybody kind of copied him, but they did what they want with their own thing with it.
Yeah.
Cotton had so much fire, man. I seen him at a Johnny Winters concert, and I didn't even know who James Cotton was. And he opened the show with a big ripped T-shirt and stuff. Come out, Matt Guitar Murphy on guitar, Kenny
Wow.
Johnson on drums, killer guy, triplets all night long, man. Just unbelievable. They had so much fire. I thought, well, Cotton was the guy who showed you how to really crank it up.
Yeah,
I
for
think.
sure.
And of course, our own West Coast, William Clark, man. William Clark was a monster, deep ocean wide. That guy was a monster. He sang great. He played killer chromatic, killer diatonic. He was just a major force. Like I never, he was the best I had ever seen at the Yale
Wow.
back in the day. And he'd come once a year or whatever. And yeah, he was. But I got to know them all, kind of, from working there all the time too. And
Yeah.
Charlie Musselwhite and Norton Buffalo and Lee Oscar, of course, a good friend of mine now. Um, um, I was endorsed by Hohner for 19 years. Uh,
Wow.
they dumped us all for for the dead guys, and then they asked us to reapply. But I mean, I didn't want to do that because uh, I wanted my 20 years. I want to use my badge. If you're going to be with somebody, they can't dump you like that. So, but and Lee Oscar had asked me to be endorsed earlier, and I told him that I was with Hohner, so I couldn't do it. So recently, I let him know that if he's still interested, I'm probably over the hill now, but I'm still rolling.
And having seen the scene grow for so many years, and it was when I came on the scene and I met you, it would have been probably late 80s, early 90s. I was just a kid, and the scene was kind of hopping back in those days. And then as I started to grow up with it, I started to see those six nighters turn into front three, back threes, single nights, and it just kind of slowly started to peter out a little bit. So what is your take on, you came into the scene and you guys had a big influence on making a lot of it happen in the Vancouver scene, especially, that we all remember in the, I hear about in the 70s, but the 80s, 90s, and then it dies out. Like, what's your take on where it's gone and evolved since those days?
Well, sadly, like I said, I got to Vancouver in 1969, And all through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was just booming. It was happening. Almost every bar,
Yep.
all the little shitholes in the back, and all the great bars. Everybody was playing, and all the bands were killer. And the bigger name bands were all there too. It was a collage, and it was beautiful. I like to say that I spent 30 years in Vancouver from 1969 to 1999. I worked there 30 years, 6 nights a week, and 2 jams, the Fairview and the Yale.
Yeah.
I did those for years, and it was great because at that time everybody was so into it that it was just a matter of directing traffic. Basically, you're helping guys find each other and all that kind of cool stuff. That's
Yep.
when Brickhouse started and all that kind of stuff, right? And Tony was there with the Vaqueros, and everybody was. Jack just had the Yale hopping. I mean, so many legends played there. That was unbelievable. Good times, man. I never thought it'd end, actually. I thought Vancouver would just go on fine without me. But I started Incognito Band in 1981. I took over a gig at the Travelers from Danny Tripper, and I didn't want nobody to know I was playing there, so I went incognito. And
Really? That's
I had,
amazing.
I had an artist draw me, sort of. No, I was a lot thinner then,
I remember that image. Yeah.
yeah, and that was my guy, and I had Bobby Regan on guitar at first, and then I switched over to Muddy Fraser, uh, and then Robbie Steiniger. So a lot of Bobs. So it was actually in Bob Nito, because it ended up with that way too with Bobby Woods and Bob Popovich and Robbie
Yeah.
Montgomery. It was, you know, Sherman
That's
and the
awesome.
Sherman and the In Bobs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You guys, I remember because I grew up and remember cutting my teeth getting to share the stage with you guys. You were very hospitable in those days.
Yeah, no,
You know,
I loved just helping out, just directing traffic, like I say. And I got to do those harmonica blasts there at the Yale in the
yep.
90s, and those were like unbelievable. I never knew it turned into that, but I had harp players, 17 harmonica players from all over the world lined up to play. And it was
Crazy.
just, yeah,
So you
and
said,
good bit. Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was just gonna say because I didn't want to cut you off on the harp thing there, but you were saying you kind of split out of Vancouver in about 1999 or so. But I want to hear you finish the harp side. You said you're bringing in the 17 or so harp players and stuff. So let's hear that, and then I want to talk about your post Vancouver career.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, the harp thing turned out really good because we had harp players from like from Whitehorse to Australia. Vic Pollock was on there, and guys from California were coming up, and it was pretty amazing that we had that kind of turnout, and it took off like it did. Magic times.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, things are different now.
Yeah, things are a lot different now. Like COVID hit, canceled. That was it for my gigs. I didn't have any gigs, and luckily enough for me, I became a senior citizen. So uh, they covered, they covered our ass anyway for a little while. But um, um, I don't think I'd like to, remain optimistic and think that it'll come back someday. But I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime because we had it so good, man. It was so sweet, and I never thought I never thought that it'd dry up like that. Because Gastown, man, there's music pouring out of every crack. Like it was almost
Yep.
like a cartoon. It was so animated, you know. It was like, wow. And different bands from different places, different countries. And so you're getting real education, you know, and jazz fest and stuff in Gastown on the street there. And like just music from all over the world. It really opens up your earbuds for creation, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And I feel like it started to die out in the late 90s, early 2000s due to technology. Like my generation was really big on tech. And when
yeah,
that MP3 hit, I feel like the like, cause I did a record on 2-inch tape, but then everything else was on hard drives and there was, you get more dynamic range, but everything else is like being lost. And then people aren't putting in the time to their instruments because you can, hit it on a Roland 808 and make all your beats. And,
yeah, yeah.
I feel like the culture really shifted at that point. And I've said lots, when I started, at 13, 14, 15, everyone was 20 years older than me. And now here I am pushing 50 and everyone's still 20 years older than me. There was not really much of a younger generation that's gotten
Coming up, right?
involved. Yeah.
No, and it used to be a family thing. Like I started because my cousin was a lead singer in Edmonton for the A&W Lords. They used to play on top of the A&W, the first one in Canada. And
That's awesome.
yeah, in fact, Hans Stamer was later in that band too, Privilege. And
Cool.
sadly enough, we lost him. And I guess they had a great party for him last night. I wish I would have known. But
Yeah.
you
I
never
didn't
hear
hear
about
about it
these
either.
things till they're over, you know.
Yeah, for
But he
sure.
was an amazing singer. I loved Hansy, and a decent harp player too. And uh, it's sad, you know. It's
For sure. Yeah.
a lot of our good buddies have left us, and
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate. When you left in 99, where did you head to and what were you doing musically
we
there?
well, basically, I moved from Vancouver, and the reason why I left is because um, I couldn't take my daughter, who was 5 at the time, on a Stanley Park bus without getting a full meal deal on Hastings, East Hastings. And it's gotten a lot worse after that. But even then, it was people were shooting up on the middle of the street and stuff like that. And I didn't want her to see that. And so we moved to Kelowna because it was supposedly a cleaner, a better place. Uh, Um, and it was for a long time, but now it's got the homeless situation like every other place, you know. But
Yeah.
we moved here and raised our daughter, and that was the main reason. Me and my wife just and her parents lived here. My dad ended up living here, but he didn't make it. We moved here after he was gone. My dad was a banjo player, guitar player, and a machinist for the CNR for 42 years. Uh, he was a funny guy, a big guy, uh, but a good musician. He had a band back in the 40s called Swing Kings. They were a barn dance band. And my grandpa played harmonica and fiddle. I used to get on the end of his knee and he'd say, "Hang on, Buster, I go, okay, Grandpa." And I'd just hang on for dear life. You couldn't get the watermelon off my face with a crowbar, you know. I just couldn't stop grinning. And I'll never forget it. It was like that was the rhythm and sort of the whole thing. And I can still see that today when I pull out the harmonica, especially a little 4-hole and stuff, and play it for the little kids. Like they
Yeah.
just light up. They come right out of their shells. They start dancing, and all of a sudden they're there, you know. And that's what it did for me too. So I understand that, and
Yeah. So what was the scene like in those days when you got there? I remember early 2000s playing it's a place called the Blue Gator.
the Blue Gator was, well, there was a Jimmy's House of Blues pre that, same building. And I had the house gig there with, uh, yeah, we played there like once a month or every 6 weeks for 15, 16 years. I haven't
Wow.
played there now for maybe 10 years because it went more rock because all the other places were doing that too. So it, but sadly enough, what they didn't realize, man, is that that was the only old people's place in town. So they
Yeah.
took the and kids were coming there too because Grandpa and Dad were there, and the kids wanted to tag the dad for some cash. So everybody was coming there anyway, you know. So he sort of said that our crowds were thinning out and stuff, and the blues wasn't drawing anymore. So so like so many other rooms across the country that we used to play, that were devoted blues rooms, have
Yeah.
turned their backs on us once again.
Well, it's definitely not an isolated issue. I see
No,
it in
no,
nearly every city I've ever gone to.
yeah, no, it's just kind of the blues is. But you know what, man? I don't. I still love to play, and I don't care. I'll play where and who with I can, and I still write songs like crazy. I got songs pouring out of me. I don't know what's going on there, but I can't stop being creative. So
That's are you recording them or so
I'm
you don't
not. I
forget them?
haven't. I haven't gotten to that point yet. Um, we've I've recorded 2 albums since I've been here. Actually, four, two live out of Vernon, and I had a killer band when I first landed here, and then eventually the guys moved away and quit playing and stuff like that. So now I'm sort of I got a guitar player and a drummer, and and, and recently Ernie Britton moved here. Ernie
Wow.
from Chilliwack, right?
Yeah.
And he's a killer Hammond player, killer keyboard player, piano player. So he's been coming down helping me out with School of Blues. And of course, Russell Jackson moved to Vernon,
Yep.
which is, and him and I are old brothers anyway. So, and Kenny just moved away last year. I talked him into moving here in the first place, but all the gigs dried up there, and so he moved to Toronto because he's closer to the airport and he can go to different countries and play, you
Yeah.
know. And plus, he's doing really good. I'm so proud of Kenny. I love him. He's my brother, and Russell is too. And you know, um, so many of the guys back in Van, Hersey, Norquist,
Oh yeah.
uh, Sandy Smith, um, um, all of them, all you guys. I love and miss you so much. I wish there was a blues room that we could all just work together. Play
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. The scene for me, like I honestly haven't been to Vancouver in forever, but I live out in the valley and the scene's actually not too bad. It's really we got a
I
really good
like the
following.
church. I like the
Yeah.
church. I like it a lot. I
Yeah. The
played
the
there
church.
twice. Twice I
Okay.
played there with Kenny and Brandon the first time. We tore it up real
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. We
And
should try and get you out to that again.
yeah, no, that'd be really cool. Especially the outside. I like the inside too, but the outside thing, man, you really get a good thing going on there.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
Beautiful.
for sure. And there's a couple other guys I know that have, they have properties with big, like literally like bars in their garages type things, right? And
Oh, excellent.
they do some private shows and things like that. So if we can get you out this way, maybe line up a couple pub gigs, because that seems to be what's all there. But they're cool because, smaller crowds, but they're totally into it. They support it.
Excellent.
Maybe make a bit out of it and get you out
Yeah.
this way. Because
No, I'd love to. I'd love to.
Haven't seen you for a bit. I got a buddy in Penticton, and I always think about you when I get up that way, and Russell as well, because I know Russell really well.
Well, you guys came through the one time and stopped in at my house. Remember?
Yeah,
With
yeah,
Nigel.
yeah.
I forget if Duris was in the band then too, or Duris was on my last album.
Oh,
Duris
was he
Maxwell.
really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I recorded in Kamloops up at Perry Sound, and
Very cool.
We had it was great to have him. And sadly, he's left us too now. But he was the best drummer in the world.
Yeah, he was amazing drummer for sure. And you mentioned him being on your album and stuff, and you're doing a lot of writing. Like, how do you approach your songwriting?
I just get different things. I just sometimes I'll just try to sing like different ways, falsetto and different things, and sometimes I get a little melody, some kind of a hook, and I go, oh, that's interesting. I'll follow the road.
Yeah,
you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes it comes out good, sometimes it don't. I'm a storyteller, I think, for the most part. I like to paint pictures with my songs, and sometimes talk about issues, and other times talk about a girl and a boy, or dancing, or having fun, or But I can almost like I sometimes I get the title first, the hook thing, and you go, wow, that's cool, and then but I don't know why it just keeps going. It's like a record player that you can't turn off.
That's good, because I'm totally dried up on my songwriting.
Oh no, I don't know why. And another thing I've been following up on is my Métis ancestry, and it turns out that I'm touched by the native spirits too. So I feel really honored. I'm a proud Métis, and so I was kind of raised French Doucette, right?
Yeah.
But we knew there was something in there that made me a little more one with the planet, kind of thing. I maybe I'm wrong, but I always thought that was pretty hip for an old cat,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Try to stay with it. Try to listen to listen to the ground, listen to the rhythms and beats, and so that's what it is for me. It's just exploring and trying new things and trying to keep it happening. Like I say, the wife turned me on to the world music and the jazz fest and all that stuff. And before that, I didn't really pay that much attention to it. Then I started to realize all those drums, a lot of those feels, a lot of the things we do come from that. So it is inner tangled music, and it's blues is the root. That's what I use. I try to, and I love the old big band swing too, with Satchmo and such, like that kind of stuff. I
sure.
love that.
Yeah, I think it was Muddy Water. Was it Muddy Waters? Blues of the Roots, the rest of the fruits.
Oh, yeah.
I think one of those guys kind of said that.
Yeah.
I always ask people that I have on the podcast, because people love to hear road stories and stuff that they normally wouldn't get to hear. So do you have any notable road stories that stick out in your mind that, I know with some musicians, it's like they don't want to share them because it's like, nah, these ones we're going to take to our grave. It's between, me, you, and the fence post, right? But
yeah. No, I was very fortunate. I didn't really spend that much time on the road per se. We played the same 7 clubs for 30 years in Vancouver. I went to Saskatoon, Edmonton, and Calgary to the blues bars there, the King Eddie and Bud's on Broadway in Saskatoon, and Blues on White in Edmonton. And then they'd throw in maybe a Jasper gig or a Banff gig or something. But other than that, the
But they got
furthest east I've ever been is Winnipeg. We played the Windsor there a couple times. And that was
but
back at the
but
day.
if those clubs walls could talk.
That's it. Well, that's the thing, is
So
that the stories are about my friends, and I don't want to. I don't want to.
yeah, I hear
Yeah,
you. I
that's
hear
them. They told me good ones, but I try to, you know, stay
you. Yeah,
politically correct.
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. You don't want to be getting any phone calls.
No, no, no.
Hey, why is this guy not on my Facebook anymore?
Yeah, yeah. Delete. Yeah, but
So
but yeah. Otherwise, yeah. No, things are going really good, man. I can't complain. For 70 years old, yesterday, me and my wife celebrated our 33rd year together,
oh,
and
congratulations.
really special. I mean, um, a lot of our friends have come and gone. I'm so happy that she saved me because, let's face it, I was doing 150 miles an hour in an 80-mile-an-hour zone, and I might not have made it otherwise. But
Yeah.
I'm still here, still kicking, and happy.
Yeah, man, you're looking good. It's awesome. What's the future got for you in the music? Like you're writing
Well,
little gigs here and
I'm
there?
gonna use the Métis thing. Hopefully, uh, I can apply, get some grants, and try to lay down some more tracks, because I got some of my stories. I got things to say about what issues today and stuff, and I drag them into music and address them that way. That'll get it out of me. And
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I was mostly inspired. It's it's still blues to me. Is Marvin Gaye, What's Going On?
Yep.
Like, that album to me changed my world as far as songwriting goes and stuff like that. I realized that some tunes, you need to have messages, um, to help people feel better, because
Yeah.
trying times, and everybody's having a hard time, kind of. So I try to pick them up, and but still tell it straight,
Yeah. Yeah, that's as it should be. So with the trying times and the music scene being so much different than, it thriving, the new generation coming up, there are still, I see some young guys out there that are coming up, and I try to help them with what little I can in my life. But what would you recommend to those guys with how you see the current state of the music business?
Um, well, I think it's really important to share it and to play with other people and to get it out there. And it doesn't matter if if you if you don't have anybody to play with right now. Thanks to modern technology, like me, you could be jamming right now, and if that's the way it's got to go. I mean, um, I've been playing on people's records over the years since I moved here, and I play on Kenny's albums and stuff like that. And I just go to a little studio across the lake, little mini studio, and we bang stuff off. And I got to play on Miles Goodwin's last blues album, from April Wine, a fellow there. And he just passed away too, sadly. But he was nice enough to credit me on his play
Nice.
on his last album, so that was an honor. And to play on Kenny's stuff was a total treat too. I played on 2 albums, I think, from Kenny. And then young guys out of Kelowna here, they're called Devon Coyote Band. They recorded some stuff, and I got to play. They got one tune in particular that I got to really play some killer stuff. So I was really proud to get a bite from some kids out there doing it, like you say, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's good
So
to see the younger generation doing stuff and still paying respect to, where they learn it from, and the guys like yourself that cut that path, for
well,
us to look back on.
yeah. Well, hopefully if we can just get a few rooms back, just because the people are still there, they still want to come out and boogie, and they just don't want to do it as late anymore.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can't stay up all night like that. Yeah, I'm
Like
sure
they
Big
used
Dogs
to.
have a hard time packing them in till 4 o'clock in the morning. Not these days, mind you. Yeah, who knows that that's the only building that's still there.
Well, I can say they still go till 4 a.m. I can't keep up with to the people that are 15, 20 years my senior, like out here in, Maple Ridge Mission. Those guys still, like, 4-day festivals, like people are
Yeah,
sleeping 2 hours a day and they're going hard. But if the younger generation gets going too, that's the supply and demand, right? If the more younger kids are playing, then, their demographic of people are going to want to see it. Right now, it's a little bit more on the tech side. I see it with my kids. It's all like, EDM technology
well,
generated stuff.
out here, man, it saddens me because they have a million tribute bands. They're lined up, and they're terrible. Most of them are just terrible, god awful, and it's a real insult to the real bands that are still out there doing it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I
Well,
don't
that's, I
care
guess,
which band it is. I've always have. I've never liked imitators. I like the real
yeah.
deal.
Well, and
And if
that kind of touches on what's always driven me nuts. Is people could hear an amazing song that they don't know and not really resonate with it, but the second that they hear Mustang Sally, right, then
yeah,
they're like, "Oh shit, I know it." It doesn't matter how good or bad the song is; they recognize it. But then sometimes there'll be the same people that say, "There's never any new music out there."
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
nobody will resonate with the new music, or they're not willing to accept something they haven't heard yet.
yeah. That's right. No, I I don't know. It's just a different flow. People aren't like. There's very few blues bands out there. Well, that one guy there, that young guy from uh, New Orleans, uh, a friend of Steve's, DL uh, Harvey, uh, Harley, maybe. No, no. Anyways, a young guy from Chicago or from down south, killer. Sounds just like BB. He plays like BB. He
Wow.
sings like himself, and he's got his own album out. And he came with some other show. They just played the Edmonton Blues Festival and stuff like that. The guy's killer. I love him. He's a bigger, younger fella, 23,
You're
and I
talking
just
about Kingfish? Is
no,
that who you're talking about? No, you're not talking about
no,
Kingfish. Okay.
no. I don't mind Kingfish. She's a little rocky for me, same as Joe. Um, I prefer, I'm more of a
Authentic.
yeah. I'm a purist. I love Albert King, man. I
Yeah,
love
he's
BB. I love T-Bone Walker. Oh
yeah.
man, I can't get enough of that stuff. That's the shit. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
there are some young guys out there, and
yeah.
thankfully they're still listening to those guys.
I gotta say, man, Brandon Isaac is laying it down right now, and he can play T-Bone, and on that little
Oh yeah.
acoustic guitar, he kills me. And then he's playing drums with his feet and killing it there. And
It's like
then
a
he's playing
one-man
harp
band.
on a hook. I just want to slap him. Yeah, getting all that first
Yeah.
thing in the morning.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
He's been a monster player for years, but yeah, he's really,
Yeah,
tuned
he's
into
taking
his
it.
thing these days.
Yeah, no, and him and Cindy May, she's perfect for him. They get along great. They're just doing it. That's
Yeah.
great for them.
That's really good to see.
He's keeping it alive. So many of our friends have moved over there to the island, and they're all playing up and down there.
Yeah,
Jack's over there in Victoria.
yeah, Jack is, and I'm going to be talking to him on a pod soon too. Yeah, it seems like the scene over there is better than it is in Vancouver
Yeah, yeah.
in many
Well,
cases.
Hank is keeping it going, man. He's got about 15 bands. They're all Hot Shoes Blues Band, the Toasters, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
The
forget. Yeah, he's had a few.
yeah,
He's had a few of them, right? He knows
yeah,
how to
the
work it for sure.
Kingpins.
The
Yeah,
Kingpins. That's the one I was thinking of. I
yeah, yeah,
didn't want to
yeah.
say Kingfish again, but yeah, the Kingpins. That's a good
Yeah, no,
band. Yeah,
no, they're
is he
doing it.
back on the island now? Because he was in Edmonton for a bit.
Oh, uh, he's in Victoria, and Andy Graffiti just left there, and he's in Edmonton now. And he was living here when I first moved here. He was my drummer. The first
Yeah,
5 years I was in Kelowna.
yeah. No,
Me and
Andy's
Andy
good.
were, yeah, great drummer.
Cool.
And then, but of course, and then um, I love Roger Brandt, and I love Jack. Jack and Roger are my favorite bass players, and Russell, of course.
Yeah,
Those three are my favorite guys.
yeah. Roger Brandt, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He's playing a lot with Steve Kozak and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
But he used to play with Amos when I first met him. He came out after Amos moved to Calgary after the Butterfield Better Days thing. He moved to Calgary, and he'd come out to the Bombay Bicycle Club down there in Vancouver and play. And when this other guitar player couldn't make it, he'd sneak in Colin James under his coat. Colin was like 15 or 16 or something. Just,
that's cool.
yeah. So that was the good old days, man. Katie Lang was happening. Tom Pump was just bleeding, man. It was just so happening. I got to open for Omar and the Howlers there. Roy Buchanan twice. Um, and the one time Roy Buchanan came, he brought my favorite lead singer from White Trash, Edgar Witter, Jerry LaCroix, and the Hawk from Downchild. Those were the two lead singers that he brought with him.
Oh wow.
So that's a killer. And Omar and the Howlers just got signed to Capitol Records or something, and that's where they're doing their album release. So I got to open for them and a bunch of other people. I can't even remember all of them, but opened for Junior Wells and Buddy Guy there at the Yale, or at the Commodore several times. Other people on the bills like Taj and Sonny Terry, Brady McGee.
Yeah.
Got to meet them and shake their hand, such an honor.
That's amazing.
And Tina Turner, man, at the Commodore Ballroom dancing right in front of me. I had my beer on the stage, and there's the monitor there, and there's Tina Turner, the sexiest woman in the world, getting down. And I'm just, Lord have mercy. Somebody call me. Call the doctor. She's fine, man. Legs, man. Wow. She was doing that. That's the first time I heard that song, Undercover Agent for the Blues, by Tony Joe White. But she killed it. That was a great version. John Mill did a version of it too, but good song.
Right on, man. Well,
Yeah.
before we wrap up, is there any other message or advice you want to send out to the people watching?
Well, I'd just like to say to all my blues brothers that are still with us, I love you all, and I miss the good old days. And I wish I was there. I'd like to just play a little. Yeah.
Very cool, man. I thank you for your time
I
and
love you,
appreciate you
man.
being on. Yeah,
We'll play
we'll keep
together.
in touch. Let's
Okay,
play together
let's do it.
soon. Okay,
Let's
man.
do it.
Take care.
Okay. Peace, love.
Bye.